Hey there, it's Jane. I'm going to show you how to make this cutie little Mother's Day card today. And I am doing my very first quote unquote live recording, unedited, raw. This is how I create a card. So let me show you how to make this cute Mother's Day card. This is the very first time I've done this. I'm going to try to attempt to make a live video. Like, I can't even imagine doing a card without editing it. Now, I might have to stop and start what I'm doing because my family doesn't know I'm doing this live and they're just used to me editing it. So let's just see how this goes. So Colorado Craft and Anita Jeram came out with the most amazing stamp sets as usual, and I had to buy them for Mother's Day. For me, they're like collector's items. I feel like I just have to buy every single one. And before we start, I need to apologize for my fingernails. I've been working in the garden. It's springtime and they're a mess, but there you go. So this Mother's Day one with this amazing mouse and these cute little sayings is absolutely incredible. There's also a Father's Day one. I want to work on that later on, show you how to do that. They come with coordinating dies. So today we're going to, these are the products I'm using. I'm using the Colorado Craft Anita Jeram Amazing Mom. I'm using the My Favorite Stamps, not Stampa, I can't type. Slimline Cloud. I love the Slimline everything. And the Greetery Crimped Frame Die. This is one of my absolute favorite dies. So let me show you what we're going to be doing. So what I have cut here is I have cut a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock. I am not a good ink blender, so I choose Bristol Smooth. I get a much better blend when I use Bristol Smooth. I'm also using Distress Oxides today, and I'm using the new domed applicator pads, which are amazing, by the way. We're using Distress Oxide Tumbled Glass, and we're going to use Distress Oxide Broken China. So let's just start out with the tumbled glass. And my stamp pads are a little bit dry. I probably need to re-ink them, but I have all the re-inkers. When you buy Distress inks, buy the re-inkers too. I've learned that I just need to start a little bit off my card here, and I just want a really light haze of blue. I want it to look like sky. And I'm so worried about putting too much on that I'm not putting enough on. And just give it a light hand and a little swirly action. Now, if I was doing this on a different cardstock, I would not have this light hand. It would be all weird. Now we're going to grab this one. This is pretty juicy. I can hear it. You hear it? We're just going to do a little light here, just a little circular. And then I'm going to go back in and blend it with this. And that is all the ink blending we're going to do on that card. Set that all aside. Clean off my area. Always keep a little squirt bottle, and I like my microfiber cloths. And now I want to create the walkway. So I already know that I wanted this about 1 1/4 inches, so I cut it 1 1/4 inches, and I'm just going to stick it right on here. And I am going to just stick it right on there. I like to use liquid glue. This is the Simon Says Stamp Craft Tacky Glue. And for some reason, I can never get my glue to come out in a line. So I just do a lot of dots. I'm going to make sure that's on there straight on the bottom because I'm going to be cutting this with that crimp framery die. So while that's drying, and make sure it's straight, I'm going to set it aside, clean off that glue. Now, I'm going to grab my Misty, and I'm going to grab another piece of 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch cardstock. Sorry, I'm off camera for that. I'm going to cut it. And really all I'm doing right now is I'm going to stamp this Mama Mouse. So here she is. This is one big stamp set, which is so cool. And I'm just going to put it right there, fold it over, and use my magnet to hold it down. I've got Hero Arts Intensified black ink today. And I'm just going to stamp this. Now my camera sits on my table, and I'm sorry if this is shaking and giving you a headache. Somewhere in this mess of room of mine, I have this dry erase eraser, and I must not have this in right. This is the beauty of the MISTI. That magnet must be in wrong. Otherwise, it would have stamped better. There we go. So I did that twice, and it looks really, really good. So I'm going to set that aside. And I'm going to set that aside. Now I'm going to color it before I cut it out. And the beauty about Anita Jeram is her images, they all come with illustrations. And she's a whimsical watercolor artist. And so they're very whimsical, and they're just very almost cartoonish. She doesn't do a lot of shading. Do you see that? And save the back of the packaging so that you have ideas of what you want to do. Anyhow, so I've grabbed some of my gray markers, and I'm going to go with gray mice. So I have an N2, N3, N4. And in this particular case, I'm going to start with the N4. And I'm just going to do a little bit of darker shading along the bottom of the mice. And I'm going to kind of bring it up here, bring it around, cover her little leggy, maybe do the ends of their tails. I am not a really good colorer. I want you to know that. So this is why I love the Anita Jeram illustrations. And then I'm going to take my next color, my lighter color. I'm going to bring that out. Just kind of bring it out a little. Nothing exciting here. This is a juicy marker. Now when I do my alcohol inks, because alcohol does evaporate, I do put the little caps just kind of like that, just to keep the ink from completely evaporating away, if I could talk. And I'm just coloring them in just a little tiny bit, and just getting some of the areas might let a little more. Just get the tails. And for me, I'm completely happy with Mama Mouse, but I think I'm going to add a little, let's just add some, do mice have polka dots? I don't know, my mouse does. I'm going to give her belly some polka dots. All right, and then I'm going to do the same for these little miceys. Just going to color a little bit of the darker around their edges. I don't worry about light source because I don't know anything about a light source. I know nothing about light as it comes to drawing. I know not everything. I know a lot about light when I go outside. But I am not an artist. I am a card maker, paper crafter, copier, whatever. I love springtime. I love the fact that I can work outside and plant in the yard. We did some major landscaping this year, so we've been trying to get our projects done, and we laugh because we think a project's going to take an hour. Oh, I don't know why I did that. See, I was talking to you. And it takes 2 or 3 hours, but that's just the way things are. So I'm going to add just a little tiny bit of light gray. I changed my mind. I'm going to go with an N1 right here because I want to make some pink in their ears, and I don't want it to hide too much. So let's just do a little, I'm going to color this little baby in the whole way because it's just a little baby. I don't know if you heard, but I dropped the cap to my marker and now I have to go find it. So this is, again, my first real life video without editing. So here we go. Now we have another little baby over here, and we're going to make that little baby brown too. Brown, all gray. And give, I'm going to call her, just a few darker highlights. And the mices are all done. Now I have decided that I am going to make this a girl mouse, and I think that little mouse is going to be eating a red candy apple or something like that. Okay, so as you can see, I got interrupted because things probably look a little different now than they did before. Not quite as straight and exciting, but anyway, I have decided that my little mouse is going to eat a candy apple. So I'm going to go in with a little bit of light red, and I'm going to go in with a little bit of a shading. Anyhow, as I was saying, whatever I was saying, I have a lot of landscaping happening, and a lot of things are being dug up, and just really a lot. So my nails are a mess. I've been sick, but I feel better now. My first medical diagnosis, I found out I have diverticulitis. I was in extreme pain. Finally went to the ER, and they told me what I had. So I'm 67 years old, first medical diagnosis, so I feel very blessed in that regard that I didn't have one before. And I think I've decided to do the whole baby carriage this purple color. Trying to keep these cards really simple. Just, you know, I love making cards. Love, love, love. But sometimes I just don't have the time. And with being sick, being in the hospital, lying in bed, sleeping, on pain meds, feeling so much better, back to my regular self, but now I'm kind of behind. And there's only so many hours in the day. Now, I don't know what you guys call these little blankets the babies carry. Oh, look at that. I forgot to call them Mama's arm. I call these loveys. What do you call them? Anyhow, I love this little lovey. So I'm going to give this little guy a little lovey. And I'm going to give Mama just a little color in her arm so she doesn't look like she's anemic or anything. And then, let me tell you what colors I use, sorry. V15 and V12 for the stroller, baby carriage. V60, 63 for the lovey. R24 and 27 for the apple. And then I got some darker C's, 5, 6, and 8 for the carriage wheels. So I'm just going to color these all with the 5. All. Like there's a million wheels. There's 2. Now, if you don't have the coordinating dies, you can mask these off and you can stamp these onto your cardstock. I just find the coordinating dies so much easier because I'm not a good masker either. There you go. Now, Anita, looking at Anita's illustration, if you see, she colored her little, I'm not even sure. I'm going to call it a feather duster, but I'm not really even sure. Is she, oh, she's dusting while the baby's in the baby carriage? Is that what she's doing? I'm not really sure. So I'm going to use the RV13, and I'm just going to do a little flicky action here to get some of this pink in here. And then what does she have next? She's got a little orange. And we're going to copy that a little bit, a little orange. a little yellow. And a little green. What do you think of that? I think that's really cute. I'm also going to get these markers out of the way. Color this other arm because, again, don't want her to look like something happened. And then I'm going to take my RV10 and give everybody some cheeks. This little guy needs some cheeks, and they all need some pink in the ears. What do you think of the pink in the ears? Me? Happy, happy, happy. So, we're going to take this coordinating die, and it's really cool because it cuts out the wheels and stuff. Now, the best way to do a die is to get your head right in there. So, that is what I'm going to do. And I'm just lining up what needs to be lined up. The ears, this feather duster, the wheels at the bottom. Lining it all up and just sticking it all down. And then I'm going to run it all through my Spellbinders Platinum 6. I bought the Magic Mat recently, and I want you to know that I really like it. My plates are not warping. My dies are cutting really, really well, and everything is actually working great. So I'm going to run that through my die cut machine. Not really sure how to do this. My first live here. Again, my camera sits on my table, so probably not helpful for your eyeballs. Oh, it didn't cut really, really good right there where the whiskers and everything. Oh no, it did. It cut really well. I was going to say, maybe I have to put it back through. I probably could have run it through a second time. And then just grab your pokey tool, whatever pokey tool of choice. Mine is an old Stampin' Up! Pokey tool. And just poke out the wheels. And look how stinking cute that is. Oh my gosh. Well, I want to pop this up, and I tried making this the other day, and cutting all that foam tape and everything was very tedious. So I decided to go to my stash, which that's where I am right this second, and grabbing some old pieces of cardstock, and I'm just going to run this through 3 more times. And if I would have thought about it, I would have done it before I started filming. So I can build up my layers with the cardstock rather than tape. Now, this is a perfect time to use scraps, like boo-boo scraps. Like I have tons of boo-boo scraps. So that's what I'm using. And what I mean by that is maybe you didn't like your coloring, or you stamped something and it messed it up. So just turn it over. Or you can buy some really inexpensive heavy-duty cardstock, which I will link for you, and use that for your layers. This happens to be all Nina because these are in my scrap drawer. And I save all my scraps, and when my scrap drawers get full, or squeaky, I need some oil. Well, they never get full. I go through and make sure and just figure out a card. I do a strip technique, or I do something else to make it all work out. Well, while I have this on my table, I'm going to grab this, one we made a long time ago. I'm going to grab my Greenery crimp frame die, the largest one, and I'm going to lay it on here. Now, what I need to do, since I need to make sure that's straight. So the only way to make sure that's straight is to make sure this is straight, top and bottom. And I'm going to run this through a couple of times because I want to crimp this the whole way around it. Again, I just love this die. It's one of my all-time favorites. Simon Says stamp. Whoa, Jane. Has a wonky rectangle too. It's really a lot of fun. I was going to say fun, which is one of my faves as well. All right. Now, because I was cutting through 2 layers of cardstock right here, it didn't cut as nicely as I would like it to cut. So I'm going to grab my scissors, and because it's straight, I can just cut along that line. But I wanted the crimping to go through the whole thing. There we go. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So I have right here a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch card base. So I'm going to sort of adhere this to that card base right now. And where's my liquid glue? I wrote down Bristol on the back so I didn't get confused. Oh, look at that. It's coming out in a line right now. Well, who knows? Oh, let's see. Oh, I don't like that card base. I'm going to go make a different one. Something happened to that card base. So I have my Score Buddy right here, and I don't necessarily like the thing that goes with it. So I have an old Teflon bone folder, or actually it's not even Teflon, just a bone folder. I grab my somewhere Teflon bone folder right here to score. And then I put this right here. And just line it up, eyeball. All right. Now I have my 3 die cuts here that I created from before. And I have my colored one. So let me poke out all the holes here. So as I was saying, we've been doing a lot of yard work. And then I've been sick. And my daughter had a baby. My mom had a stroke. Well, I'm not really sure this whole idea was a good idea because it might not work out, because here I'm talking and things happen. So, whatever. Talk about my mom. She's doing great. So that's exciting. She lives with my sister. They went out the other night to, my sister asked her, hey Mom, we're going to go eat oysters. Do you like oysters? And she goes, well, I don't remember. So there you go. And I don't know about you all, but I seem to suffer from short-term memory loss on a regular basis. So I always joke with my mom and tell her that, whoops, I must have had a stroke too. Now, I know I'm probably not supposed to go and do all of these all at one time, but you know, I find it very tedious doing a little glue, putting the cap on, doing a little glue, putting the cap on. I know, it's just microseconds of life. They just add up. So this is how I choose to do it, because I figure it's not going to dry so fast anyhow. Line them all up. I try to remember which one I started gluing first, which usually I don't remember, but I try to remember. Now I know that one was last, or maybe it was second. I don't know. We're going to go with this one then. And I just kind of layer them up. And you know, I got this, it's a lot more work in my humble opinion to cut out extra die cuts for everything. But it really makes a big difference in the way the card looks. I was surprised. Jennifer Require does this all the time because she likes to use up all her scraps. And I totally get it. You know, I just wish that I could buy 10 of each die cut and run them through, clone them or something. I'm not really sure. Okay, back to my Misty. I'm going to take this, let's wash it first. Plain water and a microfiber cloth usually does the trick for me. But sometimes you get a big stamp like this one, and Ultra Clean is the only thing that gets it clean. So let me do a little Ultra Clean. You know what's interesting about doing a live video? I feel more like myself. I don't feel so scripted. But anyhow. All right. I'm going to put this in the corner. I'm going to hold it down with this magnet. And I'm going to put my little mousie where I want her to go. So what I decided I wanted to use here for the sentiment, if I could find my stamp set, I'd be all set, is there's this really fun one here that kind of goes down like that. This amazing, loving, strong, cheerful, selfless, brave, with the word mother that goes down the middle. Here's the word mother, and here it is. So this is what I thought I wanted to put on this card. So I'm lining it up. I'm lining it up. I have one of my favorite products. I know it's such a weird product to love. I buy them by the dozens. Is this Simon Says Stamp Grid Transparency. And what it does is it gives you grid lines so you know where to line up your stuff. So I'm going to put this right here, and it looks pretty dang straight to me. I'm going to put it in, hit the door. Move it out of the way. Look at it again. Perfect. Take that out. Put this in. A lot. That was a lot, wasn't it? Now, try to remember to condition your stamps before you go. That way they stamp better. And my magnet's probably in the way. Let me get my little thing here. Let's do one more. I'm stamping onto Distress ink. Oh, I love it. Okay. Give it a good old clean. And now I'm going to line up the mother part. Now, I don't know about you, but I always have trouble lining up these skinny things. They just always turn over, and then they stick to my fingers. So I'm going to put some anti-static powder on my fingies, and maybe it won't stick. It's kind of like making pie. When you make a pie crust, you know, or cookies, you gotta get the flour on your hands or on your surface so it doesn't stick. So that's what I'm thinking. Now, I'm really hoping that this is lined up nicely and I don't mess it up. But I also want to stamp it in a different color. So I'm going to use purple. Grape Soda Ranger. And we're just going to keep our fingers crossed. Doesn't look straight to me. Ah, looks good. This is for my mom. This is the woman who couldn't remember if she liked oysters or not. There we go. We are almost finished with this card. All I've got left to do is glue this down, and then I'm going to stamp something on the inside that says Happy Mother's Day. Now, there's something about me as I get older. I have the worst handwriting ever. And it doesn't matter how slow I go, I mess it up all the time. I'm the only person who sends handmade cards with scratches off on the inside, and I can't tell you how many envelopes I mess up. It's like ridiculous. Just ridiculous. All right, a little glue squeezed out right here. So the pokey tool will come to the rescue just to get that extra out of there. And before I stamp the Happy Mother's Day on the inside, I'm going to let this sit down for just a second. And I think I'm going to grab this Happy Mother's Day right here. Let's put these all back before they get lost. I do keep bowls on my desk. I haven't needed them today. So that, well, if I could do it right side up, I'd be all right. Keep bowls on my desk to put my stamps and my dies in. I have magnetic bowls and regular bowls for everything because I'm always losing something. This should be pretty stamped. Now I need to get my bigger Misty because I need to open up the card. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to put my magnet here. I'm going to put my grid transparency here. And I'm going to grab my Happy Mother's Day. And I'm going to put it down here. So I'm not going to see my mom on Mother's Day. I'm going to see her for her birthday, which is the week before. And I'll be going to my daughter's house on Mother's Day because she just had a baby. And I'm so excited. It's just so exciting to have a grandbaby. It's my 4th grandchild, but the only one that I've had the pleasure and privilege of spending time with when they're babies. The other ones live farther away, and we just never got to see them. Right. I'll grab a colored envelope from my stash, and it'll be good. So here's our Mother's Day card that I made today. Now I did make one the other day, and I want to show it to you. Sorry about my head and everything. Same one. This is what we made today. This is the one I made the other day. I swapped out the lovey and the baby carriage. I did the sentiment a little bit different. And I put You Are Rocking, but I also put Happy Mother's Day in the middle. So I hope you enjoyed this live presentation of Positively Jane Brings You a Card. Thank you so much, and I hope you have an amazing, amazing day, week, year, and life.